lovelies, welcome back to another sewing tutorial. So in this video today, I'm going to show you how to make this cowl neck slip dress with back lacing. So you know all those dresses that are not penciled but they're not fully flared and they look really flattering. So I think they call it a bias dress also, and they're also called slip dresses. So in this video today, I'll be showing you how to make it, and also with a cowl neck and lacings at the back. So if this is what you're interested in, please keep on watching while I get started. So I have my pattern paper here and I have my basic lines drawn on them. From the top, I have my starting line, which is 0.5 inches from the top edge of the paper. And then I have my chest line, my bust point line, my waistline, all starting from the shoulder downwards. And then I have my hip line and the full length. So the actual full length of this dress is 43 inches. And then I have an extra 1 inch here for hemming allowance. And I'm going over to the top from the starting line, which is also serving as the shoulder line. I have my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. I marked it on the starting line and on the chest line, and then I came down by my shoulder slope. I used a neck width of 3 inches and a neck depth of 2 inches. So this neck depth does not really matter, but I just use a neck depth of 2 inches just so that for reference basically. And then I came down by 1 inch from the shoulder line there for my shoulder slope, and I connected my armhole. This is just basic body stuff. And then on my chest line, I have marked out my body circumference measurement there, and I have marked it also on my waistline. That's my waist divided by 4, and my hip divided by 4 on my hip line. I have not added any allowance yet, so I'm just going to take it down to the end. So from my hip line, what I have on the hip, I'm just taking it straight down. I'm not doing any penciled effect anything here, so all the way to the allowance at the end. And now I'm proceeding to add my allowance. So I'm adding 2 inches for sewing allowance. So 1 inch is going to be for ease, and the other 1 inch is going to be the actual sewing allowance. So I don't want this dress to be tight on me at all, so I want 1 inch to serve as the ease for the dress, and then 1 inch for stitching allowance. So after adding the allowance, I'm just going to go ahead and cut everything out just like this. So now after cutting it out here, cutting out the neck line as well, the shoulder slope, the armhole, and then into the chest line, which has my bust circumference measurement. This is just a basic bodice pattern with 2 inches for allowance, and I did not include any darts, so I'm not going to be putting any darts on this dress. So now to cut out the cowl neck effect, I'm just labeling the chest line and bust point line because my pencil is not really clear here. So from my shoulder to my chest line is 8 inches, and then on that chest line is where I'm going to be doing the slashing for my cowl neck. So now starting from the part that is serving as the midpoint of the paper, I'm going to slash on the chest line through to the armhole point. So I'm not going to cut through the armhole, I'm just going to stop somewhere at the armhole point, just right there, so that I can open up this top part as wide as I want. So I'll be spreading the paper directly on my fabric, and on the fabric I'm using for this is crepe. So this crepe is very light and flowy, and it doesn't stretch at all. I think the best fabric for this kind of style is silk, because you know, silk just gives a different kind of look. So I'm going to open up this fabric, place it on the floor so that I can have enough space, and I'm going to further fold it like I want to cut out half flare. So just watch the way I'm folding this. So I'll just pick one edge and then I'll fold it inwards, making sure that one other edge is sharp, just like I'm folding it just like a triangle. So just see how I'm doing it. So this is what is going to give it that nice bias look at the lower parts. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So I'm just trying to fold it so that I can accommodate the entire paper when I spread the top part, the part I've slashed. So now here I have it, I have what I need. So I want to open up that top to about 7 inches. So I want to spread it to have 7 inches gap between the shoulder to chest line and the rest of the body of the dress. I hope you understand. So I've opened it up here and I have 7 inches from where I slashed. That space you're seeing in the middle is 7 inches. So you can go higher than 7 inches. You can do 8 inches or 9 inches, but that might just expose your cleavage a bit. So 7 inches was just fine for me. And now to cut it out, from where I have my shoulder starting from, I'm just going to draw a straight line to the folded edge of the paper, and then I'll cut to the shoulder point and then the armhole. So just straight like you're seeing the mark there. from the folded edge there, I'll cut it straight to where my shoulder is starting from. And now I'm going to cut out the shoulder. So you can add 0.5 inches to the shoulder. I only added to the armhole and I did not add any allowance to the side because there is enough allowance on the paper. So I didn't add allowance to the shoulder because I'm trying to manage every inch of this fabric. Now I'm going to take out the pins, take off the paper, and then I'm going to open up this front so that we can see what we have here. I know it looks funny now, but then let's just do a little bit. So see, our cowl neck is coming to life. So now I'm going ahead to cut out the back part. I'm going to use the same pattern paper I used for the front to cut out the back. So I'm going to attach the part I had slashed earlier, that chest line point I cut off. I'm going to attach it back with my tape and I'll use this to cut out the back. So the only difference between the front and the back is the neckline and the zipper allowance. So for the back, I decided to make use of a V-neck. I really don't know why I did that, so you can do whatever you want to do. So from the neck width, I just extended it straight down to meet the bust point at the edge there, just to cut out a basic V-neck. It just that it extends to the bust point line. And now I'm going to bring in my fabric again and place it on a fold, on a triangular fold, just like I cut out the front. And I'm going to cut out two pieces, two back pieces here. So I'll place it making sure that I have 1 inch from the folded edge. I have 1 inch for my zipper allowance. Please, you can make this dress without attaching a zipper. I only fixed the zipper because I feared that it would be difficult for me to put on this dress, considering that the fabric is not stretchy at all. So after making this dress, the zipper is almost useless because I can still put it on. So if you must put a zipper, I would advise you fix the zipper to the side of the dress. If you want yours to be more fitted, you can fix a zipper to the side so that it will be comfortable for you to put on. But I didn't fix it to the side because of the loops at the side, so I didn't want the side to be too bulky. All right, moving on, I added 0.5 inches to the neck of the back. I cut out the shoulders. I also added 0.5 inches to the armhole. All this for allowance so that I can turn in the interfacing when I'm done. And then I cut out the sides just without any allowance, just like I did for the front. And now I'm going to slash open this zipper area. And now this is it for the back part. I'll go ahead and cut out the interfacings for both the front and the back pieces. So placing the front here, I have already cut out the interfacing. I made sure it extended a bit below the armhole so that I can have it fully enclosed by the time I turn it over, because this is a sleeveless dress. So for the back as well, I also made sure that the interfacing extends below the armhole for the back also. And now I'm going to go ahead and sew the interfacings for the front first. So placing the right side facing, I'll sew the top straight up there. I'm going to skip the shoulder part and then I will sew the armhole part. So up straight and then skipping the shoulders, I'll sew the armhole and I'll turn it over to the right side. So bringing the back pieces also, I'll go ahead and sew the interfacings, but I'm going to sew it a bit different from the front. So placing it right side facing as well, I'll go ahead and sew from the shoulders down to the neck depth, just that. So for now, I'll just sew from the shoulders straight down. And now this is it. This is the front after I've sewn it. I sewed the top, I skipped the shoulders, and I sewed the armhole. And this is the back here. I only sewed the neck area. So I'm just going to make notches all around, just the armhole of the front, the top, basically everywhere I have sewn. I'll just make notches all around there, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the right side. And I'll give it a very good press. And this is it here after ironing. Now it's time to attach the front and the back shoulders together. So placing the back on the front piece, right sides facing each other, I'm going to make sure I have the shoulder parts aligned together. So I'm just going to place the back and the front shoulders together like this, and I'll use the interfacing of the back piece to cross over to the front. So I'm just going to take the interfacing of the back like this, and then I'll cross it over, covering the back and the front shoulder pieces. I'm just going to make sure I have the front and the back shoulder points aligned properly. And now after crossing it over, I would use a pin to just hold it in place. Now that I have the shoulders secured, I'll go ahead and make a straight stitch at the top. So after making a straight stitch at the top, I'm going to push the front armhole part. I'll just make sure that I push it inside so it doesn't obstruct when I am trying to sew the back armhole, and I'll go ahead and sew the armhole of the back. So I'll sew the shoulders and then I'll sew the armhole of the back. So I made sure that the front was inside, tucked in properly. Now I'm just going to trim off the edges at the top there so that I can turn it over smoothly. And now turning it over to the right side, you can see how neat the shoulder part is looking. So the armhole of the front and the back are fully enclosed with the lining. So this is a neat way to achieve this, but if you find this difficult or tedious, you can also use like a bias to turn in the armhole part. So in case you didn't get it the first time, please pay attention here. So I'm going to place the back on the front right side facing, and then I'll make sure I have the shoulder parts aligned together. I'll place the shoulders of the front and the back together, and I'm going to take the interfacing of the back and cross it over to the front. So I'm going to cross it over this way, and then I'll pin the top there just so that it doesn't move around. And then I'm going to bring out the entire interfacing of the back here, and then I'll make sure that the main fabric of the back and the interfacing of the back are aligned together. So I'll make a straight stitch at the top, and then I'll proceed to sew the armhole for the back, just like this. So that's the same way I sewed the other side. And after doing that, this is what I have. You can go ahead and use your weaving machine to weave the edges of the interfacing on the inside. So now it's time to attach my zipper. So for the zip at the center back, I'm going to make use of this invisible zipper. I'll just fix it somewhere at the top to my waistline, and then I'll sew the ends. So this is it after attaching the zipper. So I just fixed it to about 2 inches below my waistline. So the zip is very short, and then I closed the rest of the center back, and it's time to attach the front and the back together on the sides. So before I sew it, I'm going to fix the loops. So for the loops, I want 4 on one side and 4 on the other side. So I'll go ahead and just cut out the loops. So for that, I'll be cutting out a strip of fabric with about 1.5 inches in width and about 12 inches in length. So cutting this out here, I'll just go ahead and sew it first before I cut it into small pieces. So I'm just going to fold it in twice and make a straight stitch down. I'm also going to go ahead and cut out the rope I'll be using to lace the loops, and for this I'll be cutting it out by 1.5 inches in width. And for the length of the ropes, you're just going to cut it long enough for it to pass through all the loops. I also go ahead and fold it in twice and make a straight stitch all the way down. So this is the piece of fabric for the loops. I'll go ahead and just cut out the separate pieces I need. So I'll be cutting it out by 2.5 inches in length. So I'll just place 2.5 inches and cut all 8 of them. So I need 8, 4 for one side and 4 for the other side. So now I have what I need. I'll go ahead and just place it on the fabric. So placing the back and the front right sides facing again, and I'll make sure I have the front and the back armhole points aligning properly. I'll put a pin there just so that it doesn't move around, and I'll measure my waistline. So my waist point there is 17 inches. So I'm just going to go up by 3 inches from my waist, and then from that 3 inches above my waistline, I'm going to further measure 5 inches downward. So this is the space that is going to contain the loops. I'm just going to place the loops around this 5 inches that I have marked here. So I have 4 loops going to one side and 4 loops to the other side. I'm going to measure these 5 inches I have marked here, and then I would divide it by 4 just so that the space between each loop is going to be the same. And now dividing 5 inches by 4, I think the space I kept between each loop was about 1.1 inches or so. So now placing the loops here, I'm just going to fold it in and make sure that the folded edge of the loop is facing the body of the dress. So I'm putting it inside, the folded edge facing the body. So I've placed the first one and I've just pinned it down. I'm placing the second one on the mark there, and I'm just going to pin it down as well, and then I'll do that for the other 2. So now I've pinned all 4 loops down, and I'll just open it so that you can see what we have here. So this is how it's looking on the inside, and I'll go ahead and just sew it from the armhole part all the way down, just straight down. So I'll be using 1 inch to sew everything down. So what I've done here is what I'm going to do on the other side. So remember when I drafted out the pattern, I added 2 inches for allowance, 1 inch for ease, and the other 1 inch for sewing allowance. So it is the 1 inch I am using here to sew it. So now I'm done sewing it. I'm just turning it over to the right side so we can see, and we're almost done with this dress. This is how the loops are looking on the 2 sides, and I'll just go ahead and hem the lower part. I'll fold it in twice, just like this, and then I'll sew it all around the lower part there. And this is it after I was done. I told you earlier that I cut out a strip of fabric for the ropes to use to lace the back, and now this is what I get after passing the rope from one loop to the other loop until I got to the last one, and the dress came out looking so nice. I have my zipper here, my short zip, and then I have also hemmed the lower part just like I said I would. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video up to this point. Please, if you found this video helpful, do well to give it a thumbs up, also share and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys once again. I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.